Just as I stand here when we took a look around, we sometimes make assumptions about culture and nationality to fill in the blanks in our questions. We all get curious and we all have questions. However, my talk revolves around one point, that there's a fine line between curiosity and ignorance. I moved here from Lebanon 2 years ago, and it was in the curious questions about my race, language, accent, and nationality that made me prove that I had to embrace my differences rather than reject them. Identity. What is identity? I now know that identity is your self-image of who you are and deals with philosophical questions that arise about yourself. Attributes such as gender, race, ethnicity, language determine who we are. With that definition, I found myself stuck in a distortion of who people thought I should be based off my nationality rather than my personality, or anything before they even got to know me. I moved to Canada in the 7th grade in the month of November, so I had missed out on the first 2 months of school. My teacher pulled me aside to go over the missing assignment, and they asked me if I knew what the word stress meant. At first, I didn't realize that that question had implied that they thought I didn't know how to speak English or have a strong background in the language, but I do. One day in discussion, I said the word aluminum with a British pronunciation of aluminium. I was told condescendingly that it's understandable why you would say it that way. Another time, I saw that the word center was written with an R-E instead of an E-R, and when I pointed that out, I was laughed at. Really? Why does it matter? Now, all these stories might seem minor and innocent. However, they do show how people have this image that people from the Middle East or other areas around the globe don't know how to speak English or have a strong background in the language. But they do. However, sometimes, not all stories are minor and innocent. Some of them cross that line from curiosity to ignorance. I've had very awkward moments where people, like adults, should have known better, but they didn't. Young people of this generation, perhaps due to the constant access to social media, are more educated than adults. They are able to speak about controversial topics with more acceptance and understanding. I've had some very awkward moments where people who should have known better, specifically adults, should have but didn't. One time, when somebody learned that I was from Lebanon, they said, "Oh wow, you're from Lebanon? We wanted to go there, but we didn't want to get bombed." And then they laughed. They laughed. How could someone laugh at the innocent bombings of Lebanese people? I was very shocked and didn't know what to say. While Lebanon has a stereotype for being a war zone, it isn't. I've lived there for 12 years of my life, and I've never felt that way about it. When I sought clarification, I was not met with empathy and understanding. Instead, I was made to apologize for my overreaction and was asked to reflect on my emotional response. This story brings me to 2 points. The media doesn't always show the full story, and living on the other side of the world, we might not get the full picture of what's going on. And this can perpetuate stereotypes. However, even knowing these stereotypes, we need to be aware that these are very sensitive topics for people. My second point being is that we all get curious and we all have questions. However, we need to set a limitation to where our mind's knowledge can expand. We need to know when to stop ourselves, not only because it's none of our business, but also because these questions can be very intrusive and culturally offensive. This is why it's important to share intentions, so you could avoid confusing a person from another cultures. I would like to say the microaggressions come from a place of innocence. However, the unspoken oppositional bias makes it feel like there's a social dominance. You can avoid this confusion by saying, "I would like to better understand," or that it is interesting to me that there are different perspectives on this. In my story about being asked if I knew what the word stress meant, it would have sat better with me if they made sure I wasn't stressed. In the story where the person had made a comment about innocent bombings in Lebanon, it would have sat better with me if they had said, "Oh, these bombings were really sad." Now, if there's ever a time where you ask the curious questions, you need to make sure to ask yourself these 3 questions. Do you want to know more? Do you want to better understand on this situation? Or do you just want to see the different perspectives on this? If you can't find yourself asking yourself these 3 questions, then don't ask the question. It can be seen as racially and culturally offensive and intrusive. I struggled with the perceptions people had of me based off of racial and cultural stereotypes. The judgment they had of me were formerly based off of stereotypes, and they were inaccurate. Therefore, their idea of me was stereotypical. I am proud to be Lebanese, and I'm proud to be in Canada. My intention is to create an inclusive and diverse community, in hopes of this story helping you to broaden your mind's perspective on different cultures around the world. And most importantly, I want people to feel loved, accepted, and represented throughout their own identity. Thank you.